Do that again.
Freelancing with Sonny once again, and today, February 22nd, my special guest, honor of interviewing my friend, my hero,
apparently,
Nick Venditti, veteran rock star, rock and roller. James Brown of the punk scene.
Oh, I don't know.
Hardest working guy.
I'm just a hired gun, Sonny.
I love it.
Someone goes, oh well, you know, we'll have him in the band.
Bass player.
Yeah, well that's the thing. Nobody wants to play bass.
We need a backup vocal.
It's not a sexy job.
We need a guitarist. Nick, tell us, how old were you when you first got into music?
First band I was in was when I was going to school at UVic. I was taking a humanities degree there. You know, hanging out. I was living in residence at the time, and St. Patrick's Day was coming up, and a bunch of us thought, hey, wouldn't it be really cool to put a funk band together and have, you know, a bunch of guys who could play, and they wanted me along as a singer because I seemed to be the keenest one of all. I was like, yeah, let's totally do this, and none of them wanted to sing or felt they could sing, so I was living in residence. Well, yeah, let's do this. So we ended up learning about 2 hours worth of covers, and you know, this is 1987 we're talking about here, so it's, you know, In Excess and the Beasties and Sweet Home Alabama and all the rest of it. And I thought, okay, fine, I'll do that. But my caveat was I wanted them to play Hawaii by the Young Canadians and 2 songs by the Standells. Because I didn't mind this other stuff, but a steady diet of it is part of what drove me into the arms of student radio in the first place. And I'd already been working at UVic radio station CFTV. I was working there for a couple of years at that point. So I was living, eating, breathing the whole music thing. I was going to shows 2 or 3 nights a week. You know, and in Victoria, apparently even now today, they still have a really tight-knit, really organized scene there. When I was there, you know, it was the Dayglows, it was No Means No, it was Shovelhead, it was Mission of Christ, it was you know, a lot of local bands. Section 46, yeah, as then was, and then on it was the Bedspins, it was Bum, it was Power Pop, like 64 Funny Cars and stuff like that. And so that was all a big influence on me. So that's the kind of stuff I wanted to play in this St. Patrick's Day show. So we needed a name for the posters around town. We settled on You Victims. And everyone was having these themed keg parties, but, you know, dressed up like Roman togas and life is a beach. And I just wanted none of that. We're like, no, man, we're all poor students. This is going to be a poverty-themed party. So everybody turned up with holes in their jeans and old T-shirts minus buttons and stuff like that. Everyone looked. We all had a great time. It was like 140, 150 people. And yeah, I mean, when it was all said and done, after we finished paying the sound guy, he took a jumble of wires and actually made a PA system out of it. We paid him in beer as well, and his buddy. We paid for the use of the room and the damage deposit, which we lost part because, you know, we all went in there, about 2 dozen of us the next morning, all hungover, messed up, managed to fix the place up. And even after the dust had settled, I think we made only about $1,000.
Wow!
And that set the bar so high, I've never passed it since then. Every other band since then has owed me money. So then that was it. I was hooked. So that summer I got together with a high school buddy of mine. He was back from school, and he and a couple of his buddies. They were in the rhythm section, and I was a singer again. And it was a modcore band, mod garage, 60s garage. And we called ourselves the DB4 because there was 4 of us, and we practiced in Dave's basement, so it was the Dave's Basement 4. And we only ever played one show, a pool party out, and just like the UVic, it was just one show out in Delta, a poolside party of a friend of ours. And I think we played for about 20 minutes before the Delta police turned up and said that's enough. So they haven't played this. But yeah, that was. In fact, actually, I'm playing a show on the 17th of March at the House Sound Brew Pub up in Squamish with the 60s garage band I'm in with Adam Payne called the Hathaways. And that'll be 25 years to the day that I played my very first show. So that's my way of celebrating my 25th anniversary in this rotten, thankless business.
Awesome. So what group came after DB4?
Oh, well, there was a couple of stabs, but there was this one band I was in Victoria, because that's where I was going to school, right? And this band is in with Doug Little, who later played guitar for Swank, and now he's in the Jardines. And we went through a bunch of names. They're all terrible names. Names like Jesus Murphy, and the Dartboard Goalies, Staten Zilda, which I think is the name of a fishing lure, and that didn't fly either. I thought that was the best name. And they settled for Utopic Mind Slaves. And, you know, you're not going to get a lot of people coming to your show with a name like that, because, you know, it would have sent me in the other direction if I hadn't. And that was the first band I actually played in where I was playing bass. And I didn't really know what I was doing. I was probably like a lot of kids who wanted to play bass. There's only one way to learn to play bass in my book, and that's to put on Mania by the Ramones onto your CD player or onto your tape player. tune your bass down to concert pitch, and just whatever DD's doing, do that. And if one day you can get a little fancier in DD, now you're getting somewhere. Right? So I never got a chance to thank DD. There's, I don't know how many, thousands, hundreds of thousands of kids like myself. DD Ramone taught me to play bass. And so after a while I got a little more adventurous and started playing guitar, but that wasn't until later. And well, I didn't really start taking it super serious until I came back to Vancouver. But there were other things that got in the way, like traveling, work, and you know, other distractions in modern life. So I didn't really start playing serious music. You know, I was in one band actually, which I forgot to mention, with another terrible name, called the Indecisives, and I lasted. Yes, terrible band name. I found them in the Georgia Strait articles, nestled in between all the ones of must have hair, image, attitude. And there's this one guy who said he was into the, you know, into the Minutemen and Black Flag and the Whiskers, all that SST stuff. And I went, sounds right down my alley. I want to play with this guy. Anyway, he turns out to be some kind of not particularly organized kid from West Vancouver. And he later ended up playing with a bunch of other bands here in Vancouver. But we played a few shows. And it was, you know, to me it was a training ground. I wouldn't say it was a particularly good band. I was a bit perturbed afterwards because after I parted company with him, he took the music from one of the songs that I came up with for the band, and he slapped some of his own lyrics on it and called it his own song. That's when I started to learn a hard lesson. You know, don't not sign anything. If you sign anything, look at the fine print 52,000 times. You know, every few years I shed songs as I go, but that's pretty much where I was up to about 1992.
And what about Zetetic?
Well, Zetetic, that was much later on. When I came around to actually playing in bands again, and the first band I played in was played in after the Indecisives debacle was Daytona. And I only lasted one show with them too, and then I was shown the door. And then that just pretty bugged me. I mean, I tried looking for other bands, but I was starting to write more. I was starting to become a little more confident with that as well. And yeah, the Probes and Sex in Sweden. Sex in Sweden kind of started out as a three-piece between me and a fella that I met who's friends of friends. And we got ourselves a drummer. And first of all, the material we written was original. We did one or two covers, but kind of off-the-wall kind of covers that we wouldn't expect people to do. And Sex in Sweden probably played about 2 or 3 dozen shows, but then we got Keith Morrick, who's now a mucky muck for was it Epitaph Records out in Toronto, but he also plays in a band called Maximum Rock and Roll, and I don't think we were his first band, we were one of his first bands, and he was the other guitar player, and he wrote a lot of really great songs. He was with Sex in Sweden for about a year and a half, and he moved to Toronto, so the last year and a half of its existence, Sex in Sweden was a 3-piece. And then the bass player moved to Toronto, and the drummer didn't want to share rehearsal space if the bass player wasn't around, and neither did I, so the band kind of fizzled. And the Probes, I was in that band around the same time as Sex in Sweden, but I found it just too much pressure to try and do both at the same time.
Then came Motorama.
Yeah, Motorama, was it Motorama in 2000? Well, the Sex in Sweden broke up in 2000. I don't know if we really busted up, because it was 3 years, we really started to get somewhere. We were working on a 3rd record, which I never finished. And, you know, that kind of bugged me, so I was in a bit of a funk. And by that time I was working at Larrivee Guitars, I was there for 4 years. And one of the fellows who worked with was Chris Hansen. And he'd been in a lot of great Vancouver bands, like 5 Against 1 and the Insipids, Carnivorous Raunch Fucks, a lot of great bands. Bruce Can bands mostly. And he was working at Larrivee, and he said that Aging Youth Gang was looking for a bass player. So I auditioned. Because Bob Dog was playing bass in the band at the time, but he was just getting busier and busier with the Trooper thing. He was a roadie for Trooper. He was a rig pig doing all sorts of work for concerts here in town, and so he was having less and less time to be able to practice and play shows with Aging Youth Gang. So they brought me in. I played my first show with Aging Youth Gang in November 2000, and that was with the band 12 years later. Longest constant in my life, really. It's been Aging Youth Gang. And around the same time as Aging Youth Gang, I was in Motorama. Motorama at the time was a bloated 5-piece supergroup with Ash Wednesday singing, and Tony Sell on the second guitar, Carl Baird on the drums, and me on the bass. We played some shows together. I was with that band for about 8 months, and then it was an amicable parting of the ways, and they're still going strong, which is great to see.
What about Devolstar?
Yeah, Devolstar actually, I forgot about Devolstar. Devolstar was kind of, I played with Siobhan 16 years ago, and it was right after, I guess, that the Bombshells broke up. She was putting her own band together. yeah, I probably got the chronology wrong here, but we're jumping back and forth. And so yeah, her drummer at the time, Brad Mitchell, who was playing in Face Puller at the time, he and I are on blood super cool. He's been a very good friend of mine over the years. He rang me up and started Swan was for a bass player. So for 8 months I was in that band, and then there was a parting of the ways, and then I went back to dealing with what became Sex in Sweden. And after Sex in Sweden broke up and I got into Agent Youth Gang, that's when the door started to kick a little wider open. First was Motorama, it was for 8 months, and right around that time, the rhythm section from a sort of power pop group here in town at the time called Shrimp Meat. Some people I knew from Faceplant, their guitar player had left and moved to Nanaimo with his wife at the time, and they wanted to continue playing, so I joined them and we got a second guitar player, and that became Betty Cracker. And I was with Betty Cracker for about 2 years. We played some good shows. Again, there were some differences of opinion. That's the most diplomatic way to couch it. And so after 2 years, Regina and I left, and we started what became Gnash Rambler. And that's been for the last 5 years. The first show was with JT Massacre on the drums. And then Face Puller was winding down their affairs, and so we got Brad Mitchell aboard, and he's our drummer to this day. And so that's the thing with East Van, right? Is all these people know everybody else, and they all take turns playing in each other's bands.
Now what about the Christmas fits?
Oh, the Christmas fits are kind of like this on again, off again thing. Because it's nice being able to turn the amps off, just play an acoustic guitar. It's good brain food, forces you to be a better guitar player. That's also a lot easier in the ears.
And speaking of which, that leads us to Husky Dudes.
Well, it's the same thing. It's an acoustic Husker Du tribute with a revolving cast, a gallery of rogues. I've had some of the guys from Suck Up to God in the band, the Strugglers. Some of those guys have been in on it. It's like I said, it was never a constant thing, and usually it was an acoustic thing because I love their music, how songs can be so powerful even with just a couple of guys with acoustic guitars. Because I saw them once in the spring of 1986, and now at Demolished Love Affair, and that was a phenomenal show. It was like seeing Motorhead a couple of nights ago. It made me remember why I love this music so much, why I'm just too dumb to quit. It was inspirational. And I wanted to sort of, give back some of that inspiration.
You were in the Strugglers.
Yeah, for 3 years. When I joined those guys, they'll probably violently contest this assertion I'm making. When I came to the band, they would play Face Fest, which is a sort of a fundraiser for this rehearsal space we go to in East Van called Faceplant. And every year now, since '96, I guess, there's been a Face Fest somewhere in some venue in town. And that's what they would do. The Strugglers would get together. It was a somewhat different lineup at the time, but they would play Face Fest. They'd play 5 or 6 songs, and that would be it. And I came in to jam with them one time and realized there was a fair amount of common ground, musically speaking. And so I ended up writing some songs with them. We played some good shows. Some shows it could have been better, but eventually they got sorted out. By the time they got it sorted out, I was gone. I've kind of almost made a joke out of it that once a year, especially the last few years, part of my New Year's resolution is to quit at least one band. Because otherwise you wake up one morning and you're playing so many bands, there's no time left to sleep.
One band I was in with Nick, where I got to know him very well.
Little Guitar Army.
Nick is part of the LGA alumni.
Yep, yes I am. Again, three and a half years in that band. Played some amazing shows. But I'd reached my best before date. Yeah, I guess maybe I just get restless or something like that. And so I left, and then, I wish the band nothing but the greatest success.
You were quite an integral member.
Well, that's what people say, but I mean, I learned some time ago that everyone's expendable. Okay, I've never tried to, I wouldn't say I've never, but in the last few years I've tried to become just a lot more sort of pragmatic about where I fit in. I mean, if you're friends and playing with these people, that's great, but you know what it's like when you play with friends, it's fraught with risk, it really is. And then you wonder if your friendship's going to survive this. And I'm not gonna point fingers because I'll be hanging up there on those gallows too, being guilty of, maybe should have said something, should not have said something. Regrets of one kind or another, right? Life's too short for that.
I played with you. I'm still your friend.
True enough, and that's the thing. I just found it easier. Really, that it's not that there's times when I just don't want to play music anymore. I just get really fed up, really depressed. I think a lot of us go through that. But it's just I have to find that comfort zone. I don't You know, and for me, I've noticed it's just a lot easier for me to play music for other people, just be in their band. It's not, I don't have to think about it. I don't have to think about shows. All I have to do is making sure I'm there, that my guitar's there, and it's tuned up, and I know what to do.
You seem to enjoy being in the Hathaways.
Oh yeah, well the Hathaways, yeah, well, that's a band with Adam Payne, and that was Adam and I talked, gosh, for at least a year before we actually started to act on it. But yeah, we put together a '60s garage rock band. That's what this town needs, is another '60s garage rock band, playing all the classics. And so that's what we started doing, and it was a lot of fun because I mean Adam and I were totally on the same page about that, and he's got a knack for finding the right crew because we'd already worked together before in a Nicky Pop tribute called Local Mosquito. And he found the right crew on that. We had JT on the drums, with Doug Smith on the bass, Daryl Stapleton on the guitar, and you know, it was a lot of fun to have Adam and I on the guitar and the bass. We just did one show at the workshop, but it was pretty cool we could work together, you know. So yeah, all the Hathaways is great because that's kind of where I came from, right? I like the '60s, the mod pop, the rave up stuff, and everything that garage rock, everything leading to psychedelia. And psychedelia and garage rock is the common link between punk and metal. They all trace their origins back to me, to garage rock. When the Trogs play Wild Thing, when Screaming Lord such a screaming about Jack the Ripper, when the Sonics, Jerry Rosley, the singer and piano player, is howling his head off when he's singing Strychnine, you're seeing. It's not cool in the movie what became metal, what became punk, but that's just that seething energy, the rawness that music's supposed to have. And it starts in the early '60s. A lot of people say it starts with the blues. I mean, some of those guys, you know, howling like some kind of hoodoo out in the bush somewhere, and like Screaming Jay Hawkins, guys like that, and the songs were, you know, they were pretty easily digestible. It's just the subject matter and just the way they were presented. And I don't know, like I'm a grumpy old guy. I don't really listen to as much new music as I should. But some of the stuff when I hear what the kids in their 20s are listening to and their bands sound like, I see that coming back again. I don't think it'll ever go out of fashion. It goes through a cycle, you know.
No one's ever completely happy.
No,
this world is never at peace. Someone's always at war with someone. Someone's having a debate or argument with someone.
Yeah.
And Nick is always playing music somewhere, writing a song, playing a song. I love it.
Well, that's my weapon. I don't understand people who embrace violence. I mean, sometimes you get really irritated with somebody, or you get someone cuts you off in traffic or flips you the bird, and you like to go over there and smack them. You really would, but you know that's not the way. Because if it worked, then it wouldn't still be rampant in the street. It just wouldn't be. So I think it's much better to say, you know, if that person's really ticking you off, just turn your amp on a little louder. What? Sorry, I can't make that out. What? You're making rude hand gestures, but I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Ladies and gentlemen, my friend and scholar, Nick Venditti. I love the guy.
Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
That's a wrap.